All right. Well, welcome everybody to Inside the MSF, the Winter Experiential Learning Trip. So glad that you're here to learn a little bit more about some of the more kind of hands-on experiential side of this program. We're going to hear from a lovely guest speaker to talk about their personal experience. But before we do that, I'll introduce myself. My name is Abby. I am the Associate Director of Admissions for the Linguist College of Business. So in my role, I support admission side for all of our grad programs that we have here at our main campus in Eugene. I have another member of admissions on the call as well, Andrew. Andrew, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, thank you. I'm Andrew. I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Admissions, supporting the Master of Science in Finance program. So it's good to see folks here today, some familiar faces and some new faces as well. And if you are a new face, looking forward to working with you down the road and helping you through the application process or addressing any questions you may have about the program.
Yes, thank you. So likely if you're getting ready to apply, you're probably going to be working with Andrew kind of directly throughout that process. So, and we'll have contact information that we'll share at the very end of the call as well. So, a little bit of a snapshot of the Masters in Science and Finance. So this is one of our specialized masters that is built to do right after completing a bachelor's degree. So there are no requirements when it comes to post-bachelor's work experience. So you can kind of tack this on right after you complete a bachelor's degree, or if it's just a couple years out from a bachelor's degree, that is okay too. But important to know that there's no work experience requirement for this program. This is a STEM certified program, so the curriculum is STEM certified. Which is, important for some individuals that want to kind of capitalize on additional OPT time. And it starts each summer. So this cohort that we're currently have applications open are going to be for the summer of 2026. This is a full-time and in-person program. So you're going to be very much in classes throughout the week at a full-time capacity. And everything is going to be in person here at our main campus in Eugene. And we operate on an academic quarter system, so could be a little bit different if you're not familiar with that. And so to complete this program, it will actually be 4 terms or 4 quarters, a summer, fall, winter, and a spring to complete the program. Within the business school, we have classes open Monday through Thursday. So there's no classes on Friday. Friday is meant for catching up on work, group projects, sometimes some ad hoc sort of, kind of meetings or networking opportunities, things like that could happen on those Fridays. So we keep those open kind of on your class schedule so you can take full advantage of those. And then there's going to be a focus on applied learning, hands-on learning, experiential learning, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in a little bit here. So here is a kind of a bird's eye view of our lovely campus. And then classes are going to be right in there. So that is the Lillis Business Complex, kind of the home base for the Lundquist College of Business. And most of your classes will be kind of in this space. You might have some other classes that could be across campus, but majority of classes will be done in the Lillis Business Complex. So, like I was mentioning before, the duration is going to be 4 terms on our quarter system. So, again, summer, fall, winter, and spring. There's going to be a 45 credit minimum for this program, and that kind of equates to 8 classes that are core curriculum to Master's of Science and Finance. Um, and pardon me, which is about 24 credits. And then you're going to take additional electives to kind of make up those credit limits. And then as far as degree requirements go, it's going to be a 4-year bachelor's degree. So it does not need to be individuals coming into this program do not need to have a finance background or a business background necessarily. It is open to anybody. So, a little bit more about why LundQuest. And one of the things that we're going to focus on this call is really going to be focused around the experiential learning. So, with that, I'm going to toss it over to our guest speaker to share more about that. So, go ahead, Sarah, and introduce yourself a little bit.
Hello, my name is Sarah. I'm originally from San Antonio, Texas, and I studied here at UO for my undergrad with a business administration major concentrating in finance.
Great. Thank you so much. So, we brought you on for this call to share a little bit about the Winter Experiential Learning Trip that happened a couple weeks ago, kind of the first week of our winter term here. So, I have a couple pictures. Can you just kind of talk us through what we're sharing here and kind of tell us a little bit about kind of what that trip entailed?
Yeah, absolutely. So the pictures you see are just some of our most beautiful site visits that we went on while we were visiting. That main picture on the left, we were visiting the Standard Chartered Bank. I'm so sorry, Stonebridge Asset Management. And that beautiful view in the back you see is one of the tallest buildings in New York. So we were really high up in the clouds, and it was just a beautiful day. And we had a great time learning more about asset management there. On the right, you see that's the Standard Chartered Bank photo. It also had a beautiful view of a different side of New York. So we had a lot of meetings that were accompanied just by a beautiful experience, as well as so many like impactful speakers. We heard a lot of different like career professionals, and it was really impactful for me personally, just hearing about different roles within one organization and how to move around and find your fit and where you ultimately want to end up one day working. And so, the photo on the bottom right, of course, is Goldman Sachs, one of our last, and that was one of the favorite trips for everyone, just getting that hands-on experience and seeing a big name firm and kind of what it looks on the inside.
Awesome. Great. And that building in the background, that bigger picture, is that the Empire State Building in the background?
It's either that one or the Chrysler. I didn't want to name it
Okay.
because I'm not sure, but I'm a fake New
Yeah,
York.
one of the iconic skyscrapers in New York City. Yeah. Okay,
Absolutely.
perfect. Well, it sounds like you were able to meet with a lot of great, kind of bigger firms in New York City is definitely kind of a hub when it comes to finance. So for you, what was like a main highlight of this experience?
Yeah, I think we just had such a vast range of different kind of companies. So we of course had those bigger like Goldman Sachs names, but also small, more local firms. Like we had HPS Investment Charters and then like First Eagle Asset Management, which are names that I hadn't heard of previously, but they're actually a huge part of the financial economy and like how certain companies play roles that you might have not heard of. We also looked at M Science and some data analytics as well as Unilever. And so we really had a broad range of experiences in learning how to apply our financial background from the MSF program in different roles. And honestly, one of my biggest takeaways was learning what I don't want to do. And so seeing that like straight up, like the trading floor, I don't think is for me. I would rather work with client face to face, kind of have those interactions. And that was really important for me to see, especially since a lot of us in the MSF program didn't have any work experience going into this previously. So it was really great just to see what it's even like to go in the industry and what the day-to-day could look like for us.
Yeah, definitely. I think when people think of like New York City and finance, they're thinking of like, Wall Street and the trade floor and like the chaos of all that. But there's so many other different types of, kind of career outcomes when it comes to finance. So that's good to know what you don't want to do so you can focus on the things that you do want to do. That's a very, very good highlight to come away with. So a couple other questions I have for you before we open it up to our guests on the call today. Um, so as far as, you already kind of mentioned a career takeaway of knowing like, I don't want to focus on these types of roles. But any other kind of career takeaways that you gained, from this experience that you think is going to be beneficial for your future, like post graduation from the MSF?
Yeah, absolutely. I really enjoyed the trip, especially the human aspect and talking to professionals. It was really a great time, like where they were kind of forced to answer your questions. Like we had the panel and they were like at our disposal for an hour, hour and a half. And we really got to get into their minds and learn more about their jobs. And it's really rare that you can find somebody who can give you that much time. Like informational interviews are usually like 15 minutes, pretty casual. You ask the questions and that's pretty much it. But a lot of them were really enthusiastic to see us, and a lot of them felt the need to give back. And so seeing that also reminded me of my role in the future. Like once I'm in their position, I'd love to give back and see something similar. So
Hmm.
honestly, it was really just great to see how the process works. We did have a couple of UO MSF alumni actually who were speaking, and seeing where they ended up was really inspiring. So
Yeah,
I think
that's
just learning
great.
how to network and leverage those
Hmm.
connections and not being afraid to talk to people is my biggest
Hmm.
takeaway for sure. Because it can feel awkward, of course, but people are really
Yeah.
happy to help.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, very good, strong kind of networking practice on these trips. And good to see some alumni too. I think another big benefit is just being able to like get into those rooms and again, like have more time to ask those questions. Because, other kind of informational interviews, it's a little bit different of environment. So kind of a unique experience that our MSF's got to take a part of. So cool. I'll ask you one more question and we'll see if we have any questions from the audience today. But what advice would you provide like future students in the MSF program about kind of leveraging all of the program's resources? So, our networks, the experiential learning opportunities. So there's this opportunity, but that we also have, quite a few others within Master of Science and Finance. But to really, kind of how do you utilize those resources that at your disposal to maximize like career outcomes and your experience in the program?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first step is really just familiarizing yourself with what we even have on campus, right? We of course have the orientation in the summer before the program starts where you get like the overview, but they do throw a lot of information at you in the best way possible. It's very chaotic and it's very exciting to learn about your cohort and get to know each other. So if you don't remember or there's certain things you didn't figure out, keeping those connections with people like Abby or Andrew or anybody who is working with the graduate student experience, they're often like super excited to help you out. Like our tuition goes towards the classes, but also these amazing resources that we have. And they're really unique to the MSF program. We have people who understand the specific like requirements as well as I guess the goals that we have after the program to kind of help you pick the right classes for your career trajectory. Like I had a couple of meetings with one of my advisors in the program, and she was able to really help me like hand select classes based on my like weirdly specific interests, and it's honestly been great so far. So I think learning what you have like available to you is a first best step, but also of course like LinkedIn we have access to, but we did also recently get access to like Lundquist Connect, which is a networking
Mhm.
platform for UO alumni who like actually consent or like really do want people to reach out. It's not like LinkedIn where you're not sure. It's like a
Mhm.
very like warm welcome to Lundquist Connect, which is
Mhm.
very interesting, especially since we have that first and last term of professional development, especially like before and then after you apply for jobs. So they kind of show you like the informational interview side, but then they show you how to leverage those resources. And I'd recommend, of course, you start as early as possible. It's 12 months program starting in July, ending mid-June. So it's really important that you just get the most out of it and like I don't know, have those relationships with people in the college and learn what you can do. Like there's so many things that I wasn't sure of at first. Like they can get you connections to jobs within the college or like positions around campus or like letters of recommendation. There are just so many things that you can find out about. And especially hanging out with people in your cohort or learning about what other people in your groups have utilized in the past can help you figure out where am I lacking? What can I do? And of course, the
Mhm.
Career Center is great. It's available for undergrads as well and everyone in the College of Business, but it is a really great resource just to go in there. You can pop in, get your resume researched, your LinkedIn checked over, and people are really happy to help. And it's just important that you take everything you can while you're here.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Cool. Well, I will open it up to the audience. Anybody on the call, have some questions to ask for Sarah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all that. That's some valuable insight. Um, so I was wondering, like, was there like a specific like piece of advice that you got during the trip that really um, helped you with like what career you want to pursue within finance?
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't think there was like a piece of like advice or any words specifically that I can recall, but I think it was more of just the overall attitude when you walk in and you kind of see the culture and the vibe. So we went to a couple of different places. So for example, we went to a place that did alternative investments and like private credit stuff, and that was interesting. I just never really learned about that, right? Like credit isn't a super attractive industry. Like people don't talk about it highly. It's like accounting, right? It's super important, but maybe not the most glamorous. But it was super interesting to see that it was actually a lot more lively than you'd think. It's kind of like the banking industry. People have a lot of ideas of what things are like, but really being able to step into those spaces was really valuable for me. Specifically, I really liked the asset management side. And then there was the consumer goods Unilever and just being like a corporate finance and not necessarily the advising side, which I initially thought I was really interested in until like the commission parts came in and just learning about like the fee structures and how you actually make money in the careers, to put it bluntly, like if you have that consistent income or not. So that was really important for me to learn, as well as we had a couple of startups and then some really well-established companies. So there was Arch, which was a fintech startup, and then we went to Citibank, which is obviously well-established, and just seeing the differences and kind of how the leadership managed things was super interesting. So I think for me, definitely like the asset management and more hands-on um, stuff really interested me. But the trading floor was a bit overwhelming and a bit loud. It's not like Wall Street. We didn't actually go to the, Wall Street. We didn't have time for that. But I do prefer like the more like client facing or just smaller vibe, and that was important.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, it's interesting how a trip can kind of really change your perspective on different industries, and it's nice because you'll know just a bit more in depth, like, okay, I want to go this route instead of maybe what I was thinking before. So I think there's a lot of value in that.
Absolutely. Honestly, before I went on
Yeah,
the trip, I wasn't super sure of what I wanted to do. So I think this really helped fine tune again what I don't want to do and things that were more interesting than I initially thought did help me like cast I don't want to say a wider net, but a more specific net onto things that I know I could enjoy potentially after the program.
yeah, definitely. Um, so were there any like specific like skills or experiences that they emphasized that don't necessarily show up in the job description?
Yeah, for sure. So a lot of them, of course, like there's licenses if you want to go into advisory services or like being a broker, selling stocks, right? The Series 7 stuff, that's additional to the program, right? That you do on your own. Maybe a company would sponsor you. But in terms of other skills, they really emphasize, like with the rise of AI, to know how to write well. It's a skill that a lot of people are missing, but I thought that was really interesting, especially as like a financy position that's kind of often skipped over, but knowing how to express yourself in simple terms and get the point across is something that they're finding really valuable. And they're able to like read somebody's resume and like honestly disqualify you if you're not able to like get to the point and be succinct and make it impactful. So learning how to write well or just fine-tuning your writing skills, maybe taking a technical writing class. We have a couple of um, something edge workshops that you can go to.
Professional edge.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great. Yeah. And very interesting insight. You wouldn't think that in
Right.
finance roles, but yeah, of course, like you need to be able to communicate either with like inner teams or communicate directly with clients. So that's a good insight for sure. Cool. Awesome. Well, I have a couple other slides left that I want to review. But Sarah is one of our ambassadors for the MSF program. So if anybody's interested in talking more one-on-one with any of our current students, we do have that as an available option to prospective students and applicants. So if you are interested in doing that, definitely reach out to Andrew or myself, and we can kind of work to kind of get something kind of set up for that. But thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing your perspective. If you want to stick around, cool for any last questions. But if you need to get off to something else, you're totally fine to leave. But moving on to last couple slides here, the application process. So for those of y'all that maybe haven't started this process yet, I wanted to just kind of briefly review it really quickly. As you can see on the slide here, the process is pretty straightforward. Step one is going to be submitting your online application through the UO Division of Graduate Studies for the Master's in Science and Finance. Once your application is submitted and complete, making sure that there's all those application materials required and submitting the application fee. Then it'll be reviewed by our admissions team, make sure everything kind of meets expectations for the admission committee. If it does, then you'll be moved forward to the interview, which is the last step of the process. So looking at those application materials, for the MSF, we're going to be looking for an up-to-date resume. We're going to need to see unofficial transcripts for all of your kind of bachelor's degree and on. And then we'll need to see a statement of purpose. So this is essentially your kind of personal essay to share with the admission committee a little bit more about who you are as a person, why you're interested in attending this program, kind of what are your motivations, what are your career goals, what are you hoping to get out of it. But this is also a cohort, and so it's also about what are you bringing to the cohort. How our set programs are set up, it's so collaborative. You work really closely with each other as cohort members. It's also important to kind of come to the table with, kind of through your unique background, your skill sets, and that's something that's important to see from the admission committee side. Um, our application is test optional, so you do not need to apply with GMAT or GRE test scores. Sometimes it's recommended. Sometimes, it could be something optional that you could opt to do to be even more competitive for the program or to really leverage merit-based scholarships. So if you have any questions about GMAT or GRE tests and kind of what that looks like, definitely reach out to either myself or to Andrew. We can help you out with that. And then we also do need to see a letter of recommendation. So this could be academic or it could be professional. So it could be coming from a professor if you're currently in a program, or it could be from a professional. So if you've worked in, a part-time job, an internship, especially if it's like really related to finance, those could be really great recommenders that could write that letter of recommendation on your behalf. And again, that last step is the interview. That's the final piece of the application process. And it's really your opportunity in that interview to share with the admission committee all those things you like can't quite get across through those application materials. So more context, more of your background, things of that nature. So that is the full kind of application materials. So looking at some deadlines. So we've already gone through our first early decision deadline. We're coming up pretty soon here on our second deadline, our regular decision and our international candidate deadline. That's happening on February 15th. So we're less than a month away out from that. And then you can see on the slide here that we do have decision notifications. So if you apply by those deadlines, you'll be guaranteed to have a decision back by that deadline as well. So if you apply by February 15th, you will know about your admission status no later than March 20th. Likely you would hear back sooner. We also do have rolling admissions. So if you apply slightly before or after, you'll kind of get your decisions kind of in line with that. So you do not need to wait for any of these deadlines to submit your application. You can submit it whenever you are ready. And with that, I'm going to open up to any other questions. It could be questions about the program, about the application. Sarah's still on the call, so if you have more questions for a current student, you can let her know. But any other questions we can answer today? Okay. Well, I will put up a slide here. If you have questions that, maybe you want to talk more one-on-one, the QR code will bring you to directly to our calendar, so you can schedule a one-on-one meeting, or we have our contact information on the slide as well if you'd like to reach out in those other ways. But again, open it up to questions. I think Leaky might have had a question.
Oh, I was just going to mention, not currently, like I've gotten a lot of my questions answered from both of you
Mhm.
recently. So, um,
Good. Okay.
but yeah, um, thank you so much, all of you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Great. Okay. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and close out the call. So thank you everybody for joining. Thank you, Sarah, for being on this call and sharing your perspective on that. Sounds like a really great trip to New York City. We really appreciate you sharing a little bit more about that experience. So again, for anybody on the call or maybe watching this recording, if you have more questions about the program or the application process, don't hesitate to reach out. And thank you, everybody.